called for. All those who could, would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. After the pledge, superintendent's update is the next item. Discussion of items thereafter is the performing arts trip to New York City, Title IX update policy, citizens' requests, school committee reports, action items of which there's a list of A through J. And since we will probably take those out of order based on who's here tonight, we'll deal with them at that point. So there'll be 10 of them. You can count them as we go. All right, Allison, please.
Sure. Daniel, can you cue up the slideshow for me, the Rangers Give Back one first? Before I sort of dive into the official agenda items, I just wanted to share a few kind of snapshots of an important event that took place this week. As you're well aware, our student athletes participate in this Rangers Give Back Day. It's an opportunity for them to engage in service both in the schools and outside the schools. And this is just a very fast look at some of what they engaged in. They were all over the place, doing planting, packing up school supplies, delivering gifts for our custodians and summer staff who are here year-round, working, I believe they were at the Veterans, the VFW. So it's a really fantastic kind of opportunity for kids who are so well supported by their community to then in turn go out and offer their support in the community. These photos are only a sampling, by the way. There were about 3 times as many available, and they're just fantastic kids. So we'll post these also, folks can see them too on the website. In addition, I wanted to acknowledge the boosters held their annual golf tournament to raise funds for the athletics program. This was last Friday. They had gorgeous weather, and we had alums and current parents and students out, Honor Society students who were volunteering to support the event, and community members. So really great community support of the schools. So just wanted to throw those highlights in before we dig into the substance of the thing. A couple notes on the agenda. One is, as Steve pointed out, I grouped the items a little differently so that action items kind of roll at the end. However, because Mr. Martin is here to talk a little bit about the field trip to New York, that's a vote I'd encourage us to sort of take in the moment when he does that, if you're so inclined. The other action item update is that if you look down on letter C, that we can actually strike from the agenda because the committee voted it last year. It's actually an every other year affirmation. So unless you feel like there is something substantive you want to discuss about the head concussion policies in Westborough, you can ignore that one and move on to others. Okay, we have no regulatory requirement to vote it tonight.
So the count will be 9.
Yes,
there you go.
Absolutely. We could swap over to the entry plan update. Great. You all received kind of notice of this and a copy of it as well, but I wanted to take a couple minutes just to highlight the entry plan that I put together. And this is something that was shared out both with the staff internally and out to parents through our website. I've started sending it out to folks in town as well, our partners on the town side, just because I want people to know kind of what my plan is for starting to learn as much as they can about the district. And I feel like that's a very important and necessary step in order to be an effective leader both in the short term and in the long term for the schools here. This is kind of a repackaged version of the plan, so I'm not going to go through it in detail. You've already seen it, but I just wanted to give you some highlights here. First, as I state there really clearly, The purpose is about learning that informs both day-to-day leadership and the foundation for the next iteration of the school district's strategic priorities. So you have a strategic plan in place. That plan runs through 2026. So the timing it couldn't be more perfect, to be honest. We've got some initiatives still to work on, and during that time, I have some time to really look in detail, involve the wider community, and come up with a plan moving forward after 2026. I identified 4 key domains for looking carefully at all of what goes on in a school system. Academic excellence, of course, first and foremost, caring and supportive schools, community connections, and operational and financial stability. And I want to just make note, in framing these things, I've tried to frame them in terms of kind of what we're all looking for. So that you'll note they're sort of spun in a positive direction, and that's very intentional. This is a strong district already. I'm going to be looking at and trying to build on positive things first and accentuating those as much as possible. Doesn't mean we won't find things in the course of this that are identified that need to be improved, but I really do think it's important always, always, always to build on the strengths of a place that are already there. In each section of the plan, I've identified kind of a set of key questions that I'm going to be grappling with. So here are the ones for academic excellence, for example. And then, as a follow-up, what are some action steps that I'll be taking in order to actually kind of dig into the work? And it's a combination of looking at data and talking to people, really. Conversation and data are sort of these 2 things that I'll be bringing together in order to really understand the district as thoroughly as I can. So similar structure for each of these. I'm just going to click through because you've seen this already. This is a short form. And as one of the things I'll be doing in the next month is holding 2 more sort of meet and greet community sessions. My first 2 were very informal, really just coffees where people could drop in, ask questions, converse with me, converse with each other. The next 2 will actually be structured more around this plan. So I have this in this form, and it gives me an opportunity to sort of present the plan in a digestible way and for the community to ask me questions about it too. Also hoping to get Westborough TV to help me do a little video spot on it so we can really get the word out. Timeline-wise, you'll notice there's sort of good long stretches of time. Really, this fall is about study, understanding, learning as much as I can. And, you know, I think that time frame is appropriate since also during the fall, we have a budget to put together. So there's work to be going on in the background while I'm doing the learning. The next phase is really making sense of the data, figuring out what it says, and reflecting that back to the community. There is this very critical step around making sure that I push back out, here's what I think I heard, and give the community a chance to respond. Did I get it right? Did I not get it right? And then finally, involving the leadership team, involving the committee, and thinking about what are the implications as we move into the future. That's that phase 3. So that's the quick drive-by version of the plan. I want to just take a pause and give you a chance if you have any questions so far. It's all just starting off, so.
Jakub?
Oh, looks great, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
No, none from me.
Nope, very thoughtful, no questions.
Okay.
Yeah, no questions. I just want to comment. I appreciate the time that you're taking to build those connections with a lot of the community members and that you're seeking the feedback and trying to work with that. That's a really key part of the role you play in our district, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Thank you.
And I guess my comment simply is that it certainly makes sense, the way the plan is structured, for you to learn us, as well as to integrate your thinking and wishes in that program. And I think what you've structured is probably the best and easiest way to make it happen. So, very good.
Thank you. All right. I think next up, we have Daniel with a brief update
Yeah.
about our new staff.
Well,
last week was our orientation for new faculty, and we had a couple of days where we brought them on site, and we have a fairly big crop of new people coming in. It's about 45 teachers, which is slightly larger than usual. We've had people move for a variety of reasons out of state because of spouses, jobs, and some people deciding to, career change. So in addition to retirements, there were other people who left the district. And so there was a lot of hiring that was happening at the end of the last school year and also over the summer. We feel like we've found a really strong pool of people. Westborough is a place that teachers want to come and work at. So 40% of our new staff that are coming in have more than 6 years of experience. So they're leaving other districts to take a job in our district. About a third of those staff that are coming in are brand new. So it's a nice mix. You don't want everybody to be new. And it's really nice to have the combination of the two. We do spend a lot of energy making sure that they're they're welcomed, they're well taken care of in terms of, any questions they have. We assign mentors to all of the teachers, even if they're experienced teachers. And so last week they got not only an overview of the nuts and bolts of the curriculum and other things they need to know in the first few weeks of school, but they spent a substantial amount of time meeting with other mentors with their mentor assignments so that they could spend time looking at the curriculum and getting ready for this week. So that's it.
Dan, in that process, what kind of questions did the new hirees ask you when they came forward relative to Westborough?
There's always a variety of questions. It sort of depends on the person. A lot of them want to know, obviously, where the curriculum is and who to contact if they have questions about the curriculum. So we do spend time on that. They have nuts and bolts questions in the beginning about our procedures for if there's a sick day and some of the things that are just sort of minute in some ways, but like tuition reimbursement and things of that sort. But by and large, they're just ready to come and start the year off, and they start the orientation feeling very nervous. They're sort of quiet, and we make it an effort of having them mix up with different people in the room and get to know people. And by the end, we get a lot of you guys are very friendly and welcoming. And compared to other districts, we really enjoy the way you brought us in and made us feel comfortable. So we pride ourselves on doing that.
Very
I
good.
have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So two things. One is that I know we talked about this a bit last year, but that there's teachers' movement in the buildings. They are sometimes going from the high school to Gibbons or elsewhere. Is that usually a function of the administration making those decisions, or is that something that the teachers are wanting to do, and that's why those transfers are happening? That's one thing. And the other thing is in the applicant pool, how did you find it this year as far as the diversity of applicants that applied? And that's one of our goals. So were we able to bring that into?
We'll have a more formal report on the diversity at some point, but I mean, there definitely is a diverse. We are satisfied with what we got, and so it feels good. Compared to the last few years, we have been hiring and diversifying the workforce, so that's good. And as far as movement within the schools, we give teachers an opportunity to make a transfer voluntarily at the end of every year. It doesn't guarantee that they get to make the transfer, but sometimes they want to go to a different grade level or they want to go to a different building, but it's not very many. I would say, and every spring we maybe get 4 or 5 people who are asking. So it's not a large number, but occasionally, we have a middle school teacher who decides they want to be elementary, or an lower elementary teacher who decides they'd like to give it a try at the upper elementary. Not too many people go from high school to middle school or middle school to high school.
Tim?
I was just I'm curious, would you be able to briefly comment just on how the teacher mentors are identified?
Sure. Well, so there's two individuals who are the mentor coordinators for the program. They work closely with the principals, and the principals, and it's this triangle between the principals, the coordinators, and myself. And as the new teachers are getting hired, we basically have the principals and the mentor coordinators work in conjunction to find the best match. We're usually looking for people to be in the same curriculum area. And then we're looking for, just terms of a level of experience is important we have, like I was mentioning before, people with 6 or more years of experience don't need as intense a mentorship as people who are first or second years. And so we identify mentors based on sort of the amount of time they're going to need to commit between what we call a tier 1 mentorship and a tier 2 mentorship.
Thank you.
Good.
I don't know if that's the appropriate time to ask this question, but do we know the numbers of students enrolled? Has it, how does it compare to end of last year?
I think I can tell you that changes on a daily basis right now. We've got a lot of folks kind of coming in fast and furious, and I think we'll be able to report out better next week and very firmly after October 1st, which is when our state reporting is. But I think it'll stabilize a little bit by next week.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at how busy the registration has been in the last couple of weeks. There's some people who just either they just moved and their plans changed, or they just put it off. But it's very busy up there, sort of getting them all set up and ready for Wednesday.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Allison,
Great.
you're up next.
I think we're up for our facilities update for summer projects, and Kelly's going to come and help with this one. You can sit down if you want.
Welcome back. I know you never left, but anyway, we're back, so thanks, Kelly.
Busy summer.
Welcome. Good evening. I'm happy to present a sampling of our summer projects throughout district tonight, and we accomplished a lot in-house this year, along with some bigger projects. Do I just hit the?
Just the arrow to the right, and it should go. There you go.
So here at Westborough High School, our railings have needed some help. So each year we pick an area to do because we have to take all the paint off that's there and do it properly and get the right paint. So we do that in-house with our maintenance staff, and they did a great job because these ones by the auditorium weren't in the best shape. And then the next project is our chiller project, which was a large project. We removed 2 air-cooled chillers and replaced them with 2 new energy-efficient Dakin air-cooled chillers. We also updated the electrical and controls during the project. And both chillers are online now and cooling the high school, which I'm sure they're very happy for because it was a very hot summer for them without the AC. So it went very well, and we're just doing a few punch list items that are fairly simple. We should be done within the next week or so. It's just a nice picture of the new chillers in place. It was quite the project with a very large crane. We were the first one to use the crane that came by boat. It was delayed a few times. So that was just a great shot of it. Also at the high school, we refinished the gym floors. And then we're on to Gibbons School. The picnic area needed a refresh, so we did that and also repaired the picnic tables. That students sit out there a lot for lunch throughout the year. The gym floor was also done at the Gibbons School. It came out very well. We're on to Mill Pond. The gym floor was also refinished. Mill Pond interior, a lot of painting interior, and a lot of furniture that was put together for the teachers and other staff. Armstrong School, we put in a new bottle filler and bubbler combination, and the parent group shared, gave us some grant money from the parent group to order the unit, and we installed it. So it was a great collaboration to get that done for the students. Also at Armstrong, VCT tile replacement was done, and that was also done in-house with our maintenance staff. A lot of painting happened throughout all the schools, to be honest. It's just needed because it's such a busy place, all the schools. And then at Hastings School, we had the new roof installation, and that went very well. The new 80,000 square foot roof took just under 4 weeks to complete, including repointing the brick and making it waterproof. Also new insulation, new drain bowls, metal flashing. This project was completed with 0 change orders to deliver a 30-year warranted roof that will protect Hastings for decades. It was such a need, and it's come out very well. We also at Hastings have the ADA project. This will be over 2 summers, so this was the first summer. Next summer will be the remaining of it. The items that we completed this summer are removal of the old stairs at the stage, and they already installed the new stairs, and they look very nice compared to what we had there. We also, for the ADA project, installed, it's actually 3 bubblers that we installed that are ADA, and they're in use now. The interior doors were removed for the ADA project work. And they've been cleaned up a little bit with the painting and stuff, and they look really well. When you walk through the school, it just looks really great. Also, as you know, we had a second water situation at the school. So just trying to highlight the fact that this is where we were a few weeks ago with cabinets pulled out and a lot going on, and we did temporary classrooms due to the water issues. And the teachers seem to be very happy with how we turned that around so quickly. There's new VCT floors, new lighting, new ceiling grids. There's so much happening that we won't, they'll probably have these temporary classroom cabinets for at least the year. It'll be next summer when the orders start coming in from what was ordered. And at Hastings, lots of painting, hallway painting. Then at Fales, the same thing. It was the railings that we took a lot of time to make sure that they were refreshed correctly. And their gym floor looks awesome. It was just refinished. It looks really nice. And then I like to highlight our staff. Honestly, without our outstanding staff, we would never get everything accomplished that has to happen, and they're very dedicated. So this is our maintenance staff, and here is our custodial staff at the high school and the middle school, and then the Mill Pond and Hastings Elementary School staff, Armstrong and Fales. And I'd like to let you know that, so we have quite a few staff members that retire. And our custodians, I have 4 right now that have retired, and they're working as sub-custodians because they enjoyed their tenure here. And it just shows how much they care and they're dedicated, and they're very happy working in Westborough. as they're all smiling too. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to ask you specifically, how did we do on the budget for all of those projects, particularly the big ones?
So the big ones, the roof stayed within budget completely. The chiller had 2 hiccups that we're looking at. Some of it was with the wiring and the glycol. So the glycol was coming in at 35%. It needed to be at 37%, and they got it there. I talked to Bill this morning. So they got it to the 37%, but they had to put some more glycol in the
Kind
unit.
of tough to get it up a couple of percent after you've already had all the fluid in the system, because there's no room to dilute the new stuff. You have
That's
to
what he said.
take out to put back in.
Yeah, he said it was really hard pumping the new stuff in for that one. In the ADA, that's going to be, we're on target right now for things to, run smoothly. But again, next summer will be a lot of the plumbing and taking bathrooms apart. So there could be some unforeseen things that happen. We hope that that does not happen, but that piece would be a little bit out of our control until they start taking it apart.
Questions?
Thank you for the report. I've been watching the roof ADA project closely on our subcommittee. I just had a question about, just out of curiosity, how often are those gym floors refinished? Is that routine?
We try to do them yearly, but some of them don't get as much use. Like Fails, we skipped a year, and then they did it this year. But we try to keep them in the best shape possible so that we don't have a lot of wear.
Thank you.
Steve?
No questions. Thank you.
Sarah?
So no questions, just comments. I was over at Gibbons today. The floors look great. Everything looks really good, and everybody looks like they're ready to rock and roll for school on Wednesday. And I do appreciate you highlighting the maintenance staff. They are really super. I was there at Gibbons last week with my daughter, and they were helping her with all of the, with the locker combinations and going above and beyond, their responsibilities to make sure that the kids feel comfortable and got used to how to operate those combinations. So we really do appreciate them.
And at Gibbons, it's Jeff St. John. He's been with us a very long time, probably close to 20 years, and he's awesome. They're all great, but he's coming in tomorrow morning early for the lockers to make sure nobody has any problems.
Right.
So he'll be in at like 5 a.m.
Tim?
Just one quick question. I am curious, you were talking about the cabinets at Hastings and needing to replace those. I believe you said it takes about a year once you order the materials for them to come in. Is
Yeah.
that standard, or I'm just...
Yes, because school-grade cabinets, we want something that's going to last us 20, 30 years. So the specs for that, it's heavier wood, it's just a better product. And what we used, to get us through the year is, homeowner grade. So it's definitely not going to do more than a year or maybe a little longer.
So I have the other half of the answer to your question, and that is, as you heard in her presentation, that those cabinets need to be replaced because they were damaged by the second water damage issue. So the school committee, through the facilities department, has made a claim against the town's insurance, and money will probably be granted to replace them. However, the issue for the school department is the money will go to the general fund and not back to the school. So I've been thinking that perhaps either this fall or next spring, that the school committee would sponsor an article to take the money back out of the general fund, which quote-unquote is free cash, for the use against the replacement cost of those cabinets. So that's to be discussed, I guess, in the future. But anyway, that's the other half of the question. I think you were getting there, but anyway, beat you to the punch. Okay. Anybody else? Nope. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for a great summer. You got a lot of stuff done. Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion and a vote as well for the trip to New York City by the Performing Arts. Good evening, Chris.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you. Welcome back. So prior to the pandemic, the Fine Arts Department at Westborough High School would attend a biannual trip. We'd travel to California, Annapolis, Disney, Toronto, Williamsburg, but the pandemic kind of squashed those plans for some time. But we are ready to dive back in and give it a shot this year. So we're going to do a little bit of a closer location. We're looking at going to New York for 3 days. Usually we perform in festivals and competitions. This year, we're looking at just being like consumers of culture in the city. So we don't have to worry about bringing all the instruments. That's an extra insurance cost, tuxes, dresses. Like we just want to go and we want to enjoy the culture of New York City. So we're looking at hopefully 3 full coach buses heading down on a Thursday morning, jam-packed. We don't want kids having any downtime in New York City. So we arrive in Times Square, some museums. We're going to see the Philharmonic, and we're going to stay in a hotel right in downtown Manhattan, so we don't have to have a bus with us all weekend. We can travel as a pack kind of on that central location, which will also be helpful. Then on day 2, we will be touring Lincoln Center. We'll also be heading down to the Spy Museum for something a little different, which will be great team building for our department. We'll also be seeing a Broadway show, spending some time in Central Park. And then on the last day, we will go to Rockefeller Center to see NBC Studios. We'll also do a backstage tour of Radio City Music Hall, and then have dinner and head out from there. So 3 jam-packed days. The cost of the trip includes the bus transportation, security at the hotels. We'll have 2 dedicated security guards monitoring our students in our halls, just to make sure there's no shenanigans and that they're safe in the city, and allows the chaperones some downtime to sleep. And then it also includes 2 meals per day, breakfast and dinner. Lunch would be on their own, as well as all of the tickets for the backstage tours and the shows that we would be seeing. Additionally, we are planning on providing group fundraising. So we're going to do like restaurant nights and group fundraisings that can go off the top of the whole trip so that it just comes off the top for everybody. We're also going to plan some personal individual fundraising opportunities for kids to take money off of their own accounts to bring down the cost. We also do have some scholarship money for equity to ensure that kids that want to go are able to go. Everything is online now, so we don't have to collect checks. Everyone does an online portfolio, and they can submit their money directly through there, and we can also credit kids' accounts for fundraising directly, which is nice from the school's front, that we're not having hand over fist thousands and thousands of dollars that we're taking in and putting out, and kids losing checks. Everything's done online now. We learned our lesson from the pandemic. There's also an option for trip insurance that you can get, and then that would be fully refunded in case of a cancellation or an illness that would preclude someone from attending. I think that covers the trip in its most general sense. Typically for chaperones, we do 1 adult per 12 kids, so 3 hotel rooms per person. We find that that's a number that's pretty manageable. And yeah, we're excited to kind of dip our toes back into getting out there. So I'm more than happy to hear any questions or thoughts, and yeah, we're looking forward to it.
So what's the average cost or estimated average cost per kid?
So, so $1,300, which seemed to me like a lot at the time, because $1,300 is a lot of money. But when we broke it down, it ends up to being just a little bit more than $400 a night in Midtown Manhattan for meals and shows. So when you kind of look at that, it seemed pretty fair. If you priced it out on your own, it was coming in about $500 a person, because I did that to make sure that it was matching when we picked our tour group. So yeah, so $1,349 is the exact number, and then plus fundraising would defray that cost as well.
And that is money that is due from each student? less whatever fundraising?
Correct. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
And we would price that out for kids that if you need a monthly payment plan, you can pay by month. If you just want to pay it and be done, if you want it to be like a holiday gift that you ask your families for, you can pay for it in January. We would work with families to create a system that works best for them to pay it over time.
Very good. Steve?
This looks fantastic. I like how it's really well-rounded. It gives them a variety of experiences, and it gives them that whole sort of immersive New York experience. My only question is, may I join?
For chaperones, careful, you can be there.
Jacob?
I agree with you, Steve. I think it's a great trip, and I'm happy. I've been asking for it last year when anybody came here asking for approval of any trip to include those kids that can't often afford these. I'm happy that this was taken into consideration, so I support this.
Yeah, thank you.
Sarah?
So a couple things. Do you know which hotel you're staying at yet?
Not yet until we get so we're having our kickoff, if it's approved, we're having our kickoff meeting at the end of September. And then once we have the official number of kids that register by mid-October, we'll be able to pick the show tickets, we have to get the number before we can
Right.
actually book the hotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I imagine you're going to be centrally located so the kids can walk around a bit and
Correct.
access.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
great.
from New York City, so I promise it will be a safe location. Like, I know where we're going, so. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. Is this being offered to just art students, or who is this being offered to, or is
Yep,
it
so
open
it's
to
for,
everybody?
so this is for our performing arts students, and then we would expand it to interested, so it's theater, band, chorus, orchestra, and those teachers are the ones kind of organizing it within their curricular ensembles. We would expand it to visual arts and our tech kids for theater and our journalism students as well, as we kind of get the numbers and kind of see where we land.
Okay, so they are going to miss a little bit of school, right?
Yeah, so typically when we do these, we try to line it up with April vacation, so they would only miss one day, but it's a holy weekend. Like the start of April vacation is Easter weekend, so we can't, our hands are tied. Obviously, we're not going to pull kids during that major weekend for Easter, so we do have to do the weekend before this time.
All right, thank you.
Just a quick clarifying question based on that. So I know Sarah just asked about who would be able to go. So it sounds like based on enrollment that there might be a few additional groups, but this would not be opened up to the general student population? Is that
No,
right?
it's for the performing arts, fine arts department specifically.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then my only other question, and this might be just because I'm relatively new, but is there any fundraising target or anything that you can give me around like the amount that you're hoping to fundraise, or that's just really depends on how things go?
So
with kids?
restaurant fundraisers and those individual fundraisers are hit or miss. You know, sometimes you might make 500 in one night and you might make 100. So we're just gonna have a bunch of them to keep defraying, but like they're kind of a crapshoot with how much they really rake in. So we'll just keep trying and keep chipping away.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we'll move the vote up from action items on item 6 to now. And so, is there a motion to approve or disapprove, I guess, the requested trip?
I move to approve the trip to New York for the performing arts students.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Chris.
Great, thank you very much.
Kids will love it.
Yep, we may be calling for chaperones, so be on the lookout.
Okay, discussion on Title IX, updated policy.
Great. This next one, so Daniel is our Title IX coordinator for the district, and I'm going to kind of turn to him a little bit. This is not anything that has to do with anything other than changes in the law, which keeps kind of moving on us. And I do want to go on record right now to say this may not be the last you hear from us on this one. What we've put in front of you is the draft recommended by council that keeps us compliant with the current iteration of Title IX regulation. And, you know, we will keep an eye on it and come back to you if and when that changes. We've already engaged in some staff training for our administrative staff around investigations and any changes in the investigation process. And we'll, as I said, keep an eye out. Anything else on that, Dan?
No, it's basically in relation to federal guidelines that have changed. The Obama administration put in a set of guidelines that were then overruled by the Trump administration that now has been overruled by the Biden administration. There's subtleties in terms of timelines and and processes that need to be used during a Title IX investigation that are just altered between the difference between the Trump and the Biden guidelines, if you will. And so legal counsel has just provided us what is a policy that would be in compliance with the new federal regulations. So I'm happy to answer questions, but it's pretty in the weeds in terms of, how you conduct these investigations and just being very clear about timelines and processes and what constitutes a just complaint and which classes of people are protected by it. So,
Well, since this is the first reading, and as I recall, it's many, many pages of very detailed stuff, I would suggest that we focus on actions required at the end of the text as to what you do if, and then we'll vote on it next time we see it. Okay. Go ahead.
Is there anyone who would like to speak for citizens' request? Okay.
Good? Okay.
Before,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just going to read the policy.
Yep.
Before we begin, we will remind everyone of the school committee policy regarding citizens' requests. You must be a current resident of Westborough. Speakers are allowed to address the school committee about issues within the school committee's purview. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak to the school committee. Written comments longer than 3 minutes may be presented to the presiding chair before or after the meeting. You are welcome to hand the chair additional comments in writing now or send them via email, and the chair will share them with the other school committee members. Public comment by residents at this meeting is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals and the school committee. It is an individual's opportunity to express an opinion on issues within the school committee's authority. Our role is to listen carefully to what you have to share with us tonight. Clapping, cheering, calling out, or any other noise during or following a speaker is not allowed. At the close of citizens' requests, school administrators may address what was shared by the speakers if they wish to do so. State your full name and address, please. Speak directly into the microphone.
As had been the policy, I was going to go with Boyd first, but thank you, Fred. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, my name is Wilfred Savoy. I live at 41 Chestnut Street. I am, again this year, requesting the school committee to provide greater transparency in their annual budget, and we're talking about FY26 now, greater transparency regarding salaries and wages. The budget as it currently exists has some $56 million in salaries and wages, which represents about 84% of the budget. And there is no detail presented in that budget regarding expenditures in cost centers, that is, by individual schools. The operating and maintenance accounts that in the current budget for about $11 million does have this type of detail, does have the expenditures shown by cost centers or by schools, but no such information on salaries and wages exists. The town of Westborough, all of the departments in the town do provide this type of detail on salaries and wages. Your Association, the Mass Association of School Committees, does stipulate the obligation of the school committee and the school department to provide this type of information on salaries and wages. The funds that are being spent should be shown in detail, and the taxpayers should know where the money is spent and how it's spent. And so I've provided you with an example of a school budget. It happens to be Westwood, and it's an excellent budget presentation. So I would just urge the school committee to take a look at this again. This is, I think, my third year advocating for this. The school committee has added additional information in the budget regarding salaries and wages, but that detailed information by schools is still not there. And I think it's necessary to present that to the taxpayers of the town in order to continue to get the support on the school budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilford. Boyd?
Happy New Year. Boyd Conklin, 8 Water Street. Abigail Schreier's new book, Bad Therapy. Over-focusing on one's own emotional state, which is championed by the therapist, SEL advocates, and modern school counselors, leads to more instances of anxiety, emotional weakness, and depression. It's a concern about where we tell kids to focus, inwardly versus outwardly. By ruminating on our feelings too long/too much, we give them more power over us, not less. We feel more helpless and anxious through this self-focus. Forget the generalized group therapy school sessions where everyone shares their trauma and the endless surveys to get inside our kids' heads. There's not a lot of science because not only would it be inconvenient to the mental health industrial complex or the researchers' own careers, but also the kids haven't grown up yet, so longitudinal studies aren't ready. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. You all aggressively deny even the possibility of negative outcomes, flying in the face of one of the most basic tenets of medicine. You don't change your mind? Did you wait for the meta-analysis before pushing the gene therapy COVID vaccine? Do you need one for a parachute? Switching gears, electric buses, zero carbon Westborough. At double the cost, we pay all the subsidies and grants. It should be called the Inflation Production Act. It has no ceiling on what will be spent on subsidies and grants. Don't buy into the insanity of the theoretical, true cost of carbon. Perhaps a new federal administration will bring a backbone to Westborough School Committee to say no to another fails 100 million fiasco. Is there no limit to the bonds, municipal bonds, you desire to issue to the town of Westborough? Thank you.
Thank you, Boyd. Seeing no one else who raised their hands, we'll move on. School committee reports. The structure of what you see here is a little different than what we've done before, but I think I will go round robin with everybody to see what comments you may have, and then I'll get into the specifics of what's listed here. Why don't we start with Yakub?
I don't have much to report other than just the fact that I participated in a few meetings with the subcommittee, together with Steve Durrett and Kelly and Allison, regarding the projects at Hastings. I'm happy to be back here. It looks like the new superintendent is in good shape to start the new year. I'm looking forward to working on this new budget together, and happy to be back. That's all. Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, I have nothing to report, but I, would like to express how much I'm happy to be back here and to welcome our new superintendent. I'm really looking forward to the new year, and I'm very optimistic about it. Thank you.
Sarah?
Nothing to report, just, again, looking forward to working with you, Allison, this year.
One more time, welcome Allison. Good to be back, everyone, but nothing else to report, so.
I guess here's the first request of our new student rep. Comments?
I do have a couple dates and information from each of the schools that I can go through. Armstrong, they have kindergarten orientation tomorrow, which is going to be 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. They also have open door day in the afternoon for the grades as well. Hastings is just excited to start the new year. They have welcomed new staff back a couple days ago too. Fales has a lot, so on tomorrow they are going to welcome kindergarten parents and guardians for their kindergarten orientation in the morning. They also have open door day in the afternoon where the students can visit their classrooms. Their first day of school is August 28th, as every other school is too. They also wanted me to highlight some new teachers that they hired in the first grade, which they are super excited for. My apologies if I've mispronounced them. But Miss Ashworth, Miss Voiks, and Miss Wilbur. They also welcomed Jessica Murgo, which is going to be the new school psychologist, and Alex Garbino as a new special education teacher, which they are excited to as well. They also they're going to finalize the Kindness Rock Garden, which is going to be in Miss Danica Terrace's memory. The Saloon family also donated a purple butterfly bush, which will be placed at the center of the garden. Mill Pond, they don't have much planned in August, but September, they have Picture Day on the 9th and Mill Pond Rental Night, and Open House is going to be on September 12th for 6th graders, the following week on the 19th for 5th graders, and then 4th graders will be at the end of the month on the 25th. Gibbons had their open door day and Chromebook pickup on the 22nd and 23rd of August. Their open house is also upcoming in September, which will be the 17th and 24th for 8th and 7th graders. And then lastly, at the high school, we had Rangers Give Back on the 20th, which was very successful. We had orientation on Thursday the 22nd, which had a club fair at the end also, where the 9th graders could explore and sign up for any new clubs. Today we had new student night for new students. And then on Wednesday, we have the last first day for the senior class. So we'll have a class photo, the foot parade around town. The roads might be shut down also. We'll have senior breakfast, and then lastly, on September 5th, will be the open house. And the first day of school is the 28th for everyone, so.
Thank you
that's
very
it.
much.
You're welcome.
I guess my only comment in terms of the general points raised here is that Allison did her initial presentation today to the teachers of the system, and it was pretty amazing. I think I don't know what the feedback was afterwards, but it was really good. And
Well, I can add, the feedback was very good from what I heard.
yeah, it should have been.
Yes.
So moving on, this item that's listed under school committee reports, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 allows for various communities to submit requests to the IRS for refunding on energy savings ideas, including the clean energy tax credits. The committee may remember that we funded a request for our consultants to develop a program and submit the program to the IRS. We have done so. We have been approved to make a submittal relative to the component pieces of the geothermal cost at Fails, which in round numbers is probably somewhere in the order of $1 million, for which we are now in the process of requesting our consultants now to develop the true dollar cost that would be accepted by the IRS for repayment to the town. However, we need a little more money, and the request, as you see in item 6A, is to increase the purchase order that we have with HMFH by $5,000. At this point, that would bring the total up to $30,000 that the town will have expended for it, but those costs are also included in our request for refunding. And so I would ask the school committee to approve to increase the HMFH purchase order by $5,000. Any discussion?
Just one question. Is this the final ask for the money? Do we know that they're not going to come back and ask for more?
I don't know that, but since, to the extent that it becomes qualified, and if it's a necessary effort to include all the documents that the IRS wants for approval, then those funds would be returned to the town as part of the claim. So I need a motion and a second.
I move to approve a $5,000 purchase order increase for the application of the Inflation Reduction Act, clean energy tax credits.
Is there a second?
And I will second.
Very good. Any discussion? I have to tell you that to get to where we are now, it took everybody across the street who had financial interest to prove to the rest of the town that in fact this was a viable program. What's unique in this program for a municipality, in the past, even individuals could seek a refund from the federal government on your taxes because you were paying taxes relative to a claim you might make, say for solar or something like that. Municipalities were not allowed to do this in the past. So the Act of 2022 allows municipalities to seek funds in kind. That is, you don't have to pay taxes in order to get the money back. And that's what's unique about this. I believe that we are one of the very first to make that application. And therefore, we're also one of the first to have that application accepted by the feds. And then lastly, where we are is having our consultants put together the total value of that which is qualified to the IRS. And they are not allowing us in without doing all of that stuff. It was horrible getting there to where we are now. They wanted everything. And even that wasn't enough. So we had to go around to all the consultants and get them to swear on a Bible that in fact all this stuff was true. So anyway, so I guess what's next is a vote. All those in favor? 500. And by the way, our secretary for the school department is also doing the minutes of our meetings going forward. So she's going to do that from the video. Thank you, Lloyd and Lynn. All right, where are we?
See. Skipping over, we already did the field trip, so.
Okay, yeah,
item
we
C.
did the field trip, and the head injury we passed
Yeah.
for next time. Approval of the MOU with the Westborough Police Department. Historically, we have a contract with the police department to supply services of an officer in the school system who historically has been Chip Dappolite. I think you've all seen that contract, and at this point, it's not unusual or different than what we've seen before. I think the dollar value is $1. Yeah, so anyway, it's a formality to do that. And so, at this point, we need a motion to approve this in a second, and then we can vote.
I move to approve the MOU with Westborough Police Department regarding the SRO.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Very good. And with that, the school committee will sign the contract. And we'll do that afterwards. The next one is the approval of the MOU with the WEA, which turns out to be a lunch duty stipend. And in effect, since it's short, I can read it. Between the Westborough Education Association Unit A and the Westborough School Committee, the parties have reached an agreement to increase the lunch coverage stipend for lunch periods from $8 a period to $12 a lunch period. The conditions of this memorandum will be in effect until the contract expires on June 30, 2026, and will then be carried forward into the new contract upon reaching an agreement. Changes to the existing fiscal year 24-26 contract are under item 6, hours and other conditions of employment, subsection G. Assignments for secondary teachers, 1 middle school teachers, item 3 will now read, lunch supervision will be on a voluntary basis. Teachers who apply for said duty will receive $12 per lunch period. Teachers may be assigned cafeteria duty in extraordinary situations. Under item G2, high school teachers, section 2A, last sentence will now read, teachers who cover this duty will receive $12 per pay period. Assignments for elementary teachers under section H, although not typically in effect due to staffing with noon aides, item 4 will now read, lunch supervision will be on a voluntary basis. Teachers who apply for said duty will receive $12 per lunch period. Teachers may be assigned cafeteria duty in extraordinary situations. The principal of Gibbons Middle School, Westborough High School, negotiated this change on behalf of Unit A and in good faith to more appropriately compensate for the duty. Well, binding upon signatures of school committee, the WA Unit A president, full unit, will revisit the change during full contract negotiations in 2026 through 29 contract. And is there a motion?
I move to approve the MOU with WEA regarding the lunch duty stipend.
MOA.
MOA, sorry.
Yep. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just needed a clarification on this. So this is just relating to the teachers who are going to be covering, these lunch duties, right? And it's really just an increase in what was offered. I do know that they're oftentimes seeking noon aides and other individuals. I think that they reach out to for lunch duty. So I'm just wondering, is this intended? Is this just an increase, or is it intended to drive more teachers to try and volunteer for those hours and not have to get people from outside?
Well, obviously, it is an increase from 8 to 12. I think the purpose of this is to cover those slots if we're not finding people from the outside to do it.
Okay.
More, and to create language that is specific to what happens if.
Yeah.
Any comments, Alice?
That's exactly right. It's really to incentivize, more teachers to kind of voluntarily pitch in when help is needed. And in part, our administrators are ending up spending a lot of their time, which is a very valuable time, where they should be out kind of observing classes and seeing instruction happen in the lunchroom. And, they should be in there periodically, but all 3 lunches or every day of the week is too much. So we're looking for support for them as well.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we're ready for a vote. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. 5-0-0. Next item is accept the collective bargaining agreement with the Westborough Administrators Association. Had that in here, didn't we? Yes, we do, as part of the information for the committee. Generally, the discussion was very specific about salary increases, and the argument was that the percentage change should be similar to what the teachers' union got. And it was a very interesting discussion as to how the table actually is structured for them versus what is in the teacher's contract. Daniel, any comments?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, if there is any questions, I guess I'll ask for a motion first and a second, and we can deal with any questions you have after that.
I move that we accept the collective bargaining agreement with the Westborough Administrators Association.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Discussion. Very good. All those in favor? Aye. 500, thank you. Okay, annual approval of student activity accounts. Do we have that as a overhead?
By the way, we're missing Anita
Yes, we
today.
do.
Okay, it's this.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's a memo from Anita.
There we go. Purpose of this presentation is simply to provide information to the school committee as well as to the town of the accounting, if you will, and the approval of the accounts against what they're authorized to be. The student activity accounts are actually funded by virtue of the clubs and other participation by students in the system. And ultimately, they pay a fee, for their participation in those particular areas. The money that's included in these accounts is managed, I believe, by the principals. I think that's what's said in here. At least that's my memory anyway. Bottom line is that the money that's raised in that way has to be used for the purposes of those particular accounts. So it's not up to the school committee to do anything other than to protect the value of them in the sense of having collected them and make sure that they're properly administrated. And so I don't think there's any action for us other than to have made the presentation and to acknowledge the fact that the accounting is straight and above board. Any discussion? Okay, we can move on. So the next opportunity is to appoint a representative to the Assabet Valley Collaborative Board as well as to the second collaborative, which is the Accept Collaborative Board. And I think we can probably do that with a single vote, since I believe that representative is Allison. And
I left it open in case anyone else was really excited to do it, but I would be honored to represent
yeah,
Westborough.
I will just make a comment about the fact that having been a member of the Assabet Valley and now Accept has been very beneficial to the town of Westborough and the school department in particular, because it saves us a lot of money. It allows each community who is a member of these things to, in effect, benefit from bulk purchases of paper, supplies, and the like. It also supplies, in a unique way, special services for various teaching needs for which an individual school system may not have the need, but it allows, again, the opportunity to hire staff that can spread their benefit over a number of students rather than just one or two that might exist in our system. So it's a good thing to be a member of, and our particular collaboratives have been very well managed over the years versus others who haven't been as successful or have gone out of business. So with that, I would make a motion that we appoint Allison to these two collaborative boards. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you,
Thank you.
500. And the last item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from 6/18/24. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from June 18th, 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just a question.
Go ahead.
Since I wasn't present at the meeting, do I vote on this?
I believe you can. There isn't any reason, once you've read the minutes, why you couldn't. And I assume you have.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And so there's always that discussion of people who didn't attend, but to the extent you see what was discussed, therefore you have an opportunity to comment or to change something if you believe whatever was presented and recorded was incorrect. That gives you an opportunity to make the change. So on that basis, I think it's fair that you could vote. So let's see, we have a motion and it's been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Very good, thank you. I think with that, unless someone else has something to bring forward, we're done. So I would move we adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I bet that that's a 5-0-0 vote. All, thank you very much.
Thank you.